So I'm here with Kim Millett from Natures Nexus on Hartnell Avenue. And Kim, the other night the City Council made a decision that adversely affected your patients as well as your own business. I'd like to know how it adversely affected your patients primarily.
Okay, so I have three major concerns about how it's affecting my patients. My first major concern is obviously a huge concern to everyone out there, and that's the police being able to come in and thumb through records of patients at any given time that they want to. And I understand that they're saying their intention of doing so is to decide if we're in compliance or not, which is something that I want every collective to be in compliance. Mm-hmm. However, I think that there's got to be a better way for them to do this. A lot of patients are extremely worried that this is going to bring unnecessary attention towards them from the police, especially patients who are growing their own medicine because it is more cost effective. They don't want to have their door kicked in or something like that, which I don't necessarily think is going to happen. Mm-hmm. But it's causing a lot of unnecessary stress to our patients.
Have any of your patients experienced that in their past from the laws the way they are?
Their doors being knocked in or anything like that? Not that they've really spoken out to me about.
Or just being arrested or anything along those lines.
They don't talk to me too much about things like that, but I would not be surprised about it. And a lot of them are still, even before this is being put in place, are still very worried about something like that occurring to them. Yeah. Just because they're trying to find a natural alternative that's a little more cost effective than taking Oxycontin every day. Mm-hmm. Or something to relieve their pain and nausea from chemotherapy a few times a week. Mm-hmm. And these are people who are sick, who are dealing with medical bills, who are dealing with enough stress already. They don't need the additional stress of law enforcement coming down on them because they're looking for some sort of relief on a daily basis. And the idea of them being able to look at records is making them kind of think back a little bit, take a step back and decide whether collectives really are safe access for them now with their records. Having, so many police officers in the city of Reading open information now, let alone it's their personal medical information, so that should never be seen in the first place. So a lot of them are really stressed out about that idea. And just in the past 2 days, I already have had members call us with lots of concerns, asking questions about whether or not, if an officer walks in here right now, we're going to let them see our records.
So they're asking you to take a stand?
I've had people call and say, hey, I hear this is going on. What's going to happen now? Mm-hmm. And we have spoken to our attorney, and I do have instructions from my attorney to, at this moment, not release any of our records and just hand over our attorney's card, which is absolutely what I plan to do right now. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how that's going to change in the future, right, with how everything is going everywhere. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, it's unnecessary stress, unnecessary access to records, and there's just got to be a better way to handle all of that.
And what was the second concern?
Second concern that I have is the concern of patients being allowed to go to only one collective. There's a huge array of concerns I have with this as far as...
My first thought when I heard that one was somebody walking in the door, they don't really know what they've got. Mm-hmm. They join the collective. If they find out that they don't like the people running it later on...
What do they do?
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimately, they can always revoke their membership and go get membership at another collective. So there's a way around that.
Yeah, but you can't move it around if someone's out of one thing that you were looking for.
Ultimately, there's, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't know extreme specifics, but in marijuana, there's something like 60 different types of cannabinoids. Right. And not one strain has all 60 of those types in them. Yeah. And that's why different strains are better for different ailments.
I've always noticed that even some strains will have opposite effects from each other. Mm-hmm. Like one will put you to sleep, the other one will keep you awake.
Yeah, and give you excess amounts of energy. Mm-hmm. So if I have a cancer patient that comes here and they're looking for a specific strain and we have it, so they decide to become one of our members. And then for a couple weeks, I happen to be out of that. But they know that they like the quality of our strain and everything like that. Do they then revoke their membership here and go find it somewhere else? Or do they try and find an alternative for those 2 weeks? Do they revoke their membership, find it somewhere else, revoke that membership, come back here? It's not stress that someone going through any of this should have to go through. They should be able to say, oh, you're out of this, all right, I'll be back in about 2 weeks. Give me a call when you get some more in. I'm going to go down the street and get some from them.
Well, gee, that's the way every other business in the entire United States works. You would think you would get two too. And your other one, your third one?
The third one is probably my biggest concern, and that is the removal of clones. They're claiming that at a pharmacy you can't get raw materials, and I keep hearing this analogy of a dispensary to a pharmacy. And it seems like a lot of the arguments that are being used against dispensaries, they're choosing that analogy when it works for them and choosing to ignore that analogy when it works for them. In this case, we're like a pharmacy, we're obviously not a pharmacy. If you get a prescription from a doctor for Vicodin or something like that, that doctor sends that prescription to a pharmacy. That pharmacy then gets that medicine from a pharmaceutical company. The pharmaceutical company is out of the loop now, and you're getting that medicine from the pharmacy. With us here, you get a recommendation from a physician. You come here. We get our medicine from our members. You sign up to be a member. So essentially, it's not the pharmaceutical companies that are helping to medicate our patients. It's our patients medicating each other and sharing resources with each other. Right. So it's completely irrelevant how a pharmacy works about getting their medicine and how we work. That's absurd. And I have a lot of patients who are on SSI and things like that, and they're looking towards their own garden as an affordable way to help with their pain. And they simply can't pay the amount that it costs right now to get the dried form of medicine as much as they might need it, however much that might be, which is different for everyone.
Well, what you said earlier about strains being different and getting different effects from them, how would somebody, without getting clones from you with strains that you know does what, how would they be able to know within even the first year or second year? Or would it be trial and error in their 10 years before they figure it all out? Yeah.
What strain works for them?
Well, no, I mean without being able to take clippings home. Without being able to get specific strains from you for certain ailments and knowing what they are, and
they have to experiment on their own if they want to do their own garden. I guess is kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, they can drive out of town now to pick up clone or clippings or clones from their garden.
Okay, so we just sent a whole bunch of business out of town. Is that what you're saying? Because they're talking about taxing you guys for one thing. And
incredibly taxing.
Yeah, and so they put rules in place that is going to send a lot of that business right out of the city limits.
Right out of the city limits. And I guess that's just another concern beyond my patients is how much business. I don't think that we need as many cooperatives in town right now as we have. I don't. But I haven't run these numbers, but let's take a look really quick, just on a completely tax, financial, business aspect of this. Let's take a look at these collectives, how many jobs they've created, how much in income tax it's creating, how much in sales tax it's creating. It's for the economy, which I think is a terrible reason to honestly look at medical marijuana and dispute. It's absolutely helping the economy in any area. I'm sure there are well over hundreds of jobs that have been created that used to, in a lot of ways, be done illegally, not taxed. Yeah. And I was reading an article the other day about an interview that was done with the Shasta County Sheriff. And he actually claimed in that article that now that there are dispensaries, it's going to create a new market for the non-taxed marijuana, which I thought that was absolutely absurd, because just because we have a taxed market for marijuana now doesn't mean that non-taxed market was never there before.
Right, exactly. It's been there.
But yeah, it's not a business aspect, just purely financial, which I'm not sure that's a really good way to look at it. Yeah.
Well, Kim, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
This'll-
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
I appreciate all the work you're doing.